In this video, we're going to talk about the sequence manager and how you can use this to affect the sewing order of an embroidery design. And that is found here. There's the view, the sequence view, and then the auto and manual sequence tools found on our top toolbar. And to help demonstrate this, I'm going to select my browser and select one of the CMX artworks and double click to quickly create an embroidery design, and notice that that embroidery design is shown within my little sequence window. And just on the note of this window, if you bring your mouse to the left hand edge of it, you can make this window larger or smaller. Obviously larger will show you the images bigger, but it will show less of them versus smaller, where when we so the point of all of this is, this shows me the sewing sequence is set on auto up in the top. I have my auto sequence manager turned on, and if I click on the tool, it changes to say manual. And notice when it says manual that the sequence window now shows the individual shapes of the actual embroidery design. And this is one way that you can use to click on to select shapes. But when you have it turned back on to auto, what it does is it allows the software to automatically adjust the sewing sequence. And so if I turn on slow redraw right now and just grab my needle and bring it forward, you'll see that it starts with the white and then does the brown and the red and the blue, etc., etc. Now I'll turn that off. If I go to manual for this, and notice that in manual mode, the brown is what sews first, and then the white, and then the red. And I could move these to be any specific sewing order I want. But the point is, if I click on slow redraw now, it's going to stitch in the order which was in that sequence. So if I bring my needle forward, you'll see that it starts with the brown this time, and then goes to the white and the red and the blue and the red and the blue and the white and the yellow and the black. So a little bit more fragmented sewing sequence. Can you see that? Because it's manual versus if we turn this off again and go back to auto sequence control, and one more time look at the slow redraw, then notice how it's reduced somewhat the number of color stops. One of the things that it's done is it understands the three-dimensional sort of aspect of the design, so it tries to maintain that. However, if you ever want to take control of that sewing sequence, then it's a matter of going into manual. And then you could scroll through and say, well, look, it goes red, 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 and then there's this blue piece, and then some more red, and maybe you'd like to just click and drag on this blue piece to bring it down, and now I've affected the sewing sequence. And if I click on slow redraw again, it will show you that now I've affected that actual sewing sequence to do the blue right after the red as such. So that is your sequence manager. And again, another on the topic of the sequence manager, if you decided that you wanted this white segment to sew first and you did not want it to be affected by your sequence manager, whether it's on auto or on manual, when it's on manual and you select that white piece, you can come on the properties, on the fill tab of the properties, and there's a choice here for sequence, and it's also set to auto. If I change that to be, for example, to start, it moves that piece to the start and it takes it out of the auto sort of sequence options. In other words, now if I click back over here and turn the sequence manager back to auto again, notice that everything else is in the auto sequence manager, but white has still been maintained to be first. And that is because we used the fill properties to override that auto, choice, if you will. So that is how you can take control of the sewing sequence.